Alright, so we're just going to use regular notebook paper. And if you have a pencil with an eraser, or you just need an extra eraser, that'll work too. Trying to keep it simple because maybe we don't have all their supplies at home. So let's start off with just a pencil, paper, and eraser. And let's do a study on perspective. So with perspective, you're going to have a horizon line. And with your horizon line, that's where everything from the sky comes to finish and everything from the ground comes up to finish. And in real life, that's kind of where you'd see like the sunset disappearing behind the earth. We can start with a little one-point perspective. So we're going to call this, and you don't have to write these things down, but I'm going to write them for you. This is 1 point perspective. That means that everything, all the lines that we're going to see disappear into one place. Now with 1 point perspective, your vertical lines, which are the up and down, not side to side, vertical lines are up and down, they stay straight up and down. So let's pretend I'm going to put in a house right over here. And this one's going to cross over the horizon line. And what I want to do next, I know you may not have a ruler at home, so if you can take maybe a second piece of paper and draw from that vanishing point to the corner of your line. This is part of our house. We're going to draw the corner of our line, or corner of this line to the vanishing point. There. And then another one right here. Alright. Now, we're not going to keep all these lines. These are just guides to help us figure out what we're going to do. Now, I want to make the other end of this building right here, this little house. I'm going to just draw it in anywhere you want, but it's got to be straight up and down, and it stops there and there. What I can do next, I'm going to erase this line right inside my shape. Now what shape is that? That's a trapezoid. But because of our 1 point perspective, which is the way we're viewing it, it kind of will look like it's a rectangle that's receding or disappearing into the distance. I can erase that line and that line too. Just see which one I do. Take a look first and then do it. There we go. So keep my horizon line. And then I have my vanishing lines on my side of the house. Alright, next. I'm going to just draw a rectangle right here using the lines of this paper. Now, if you didn't have lined paper, you can use your other extra piece of paper to kind of give yourself a guide. And I'm just going to turn this into a rectangle. It can be any size right now, however big you want to make your tiny little house. That's fine. But I'm just keeping it simple using these lines. And then I'm going to connect with a vertical line. Now remember, vertical lines, straight up and down, have to go straight up and down. They can't tilt to the left or the right, otherwise it'll look like your house is falling over. Alright, so once I have that, I can go back and erase a little bit more here, a little bit more there, and the rest of this horizon line inside my house, I don't need that. Now for the sake of making this easier to understand, I'm going to redraw these lines to be a little bit darker, just for the sake of the lesson. Now, that doesn't look like a house yet, does it? Probably need a door. You can draw your own little door in there however you want. Make it fancy. Put a doorknob on it. Give it a door frame. You can design it however you want. Just trying to spice it up a little bit. Keep it interesting. Now, on the other side, if I'm going to put in a window, I still need to follow the vanishing lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with one side of my window that would be vertical. Not the horizontal lines. I'm going to start with the vertical side. Make it about that big. This might be a big window. Maybe I could see into the house a lot with this one. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to use my extra piece of paper again to connect back to that vanishing point. Now notice how I line this edge of the paper up with the top of my line and the vanishing point. I'm going to make just a little bit of a line there. Maybe I made it too big. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom side of that line, this one here, lining up the edge of my paper with the vanishing point in the bottom of that line. Like that, right there. Really simple. Now, you may be tempted to connect corner to corner, but those are not vertical. They're a little bit diagonal and off-centered. So what I need to do is I need to decide which line to go with, and you can pick either one. I like to find a spot where if I turn my paper vertical, maybe you can have your parents help you figure this out too. If I turn my paper vertical, it will cross both lines and not be tilted. And then I draw a vertical line from there, and voila, now I have to erase the extra parts of those lines because they're not needed anymore. What that does is it makes it look like all of my lines are receding to that vanishing point. And I can do some fancy stuff, maybe give it a curtain in the window. You do whichever way you want to do it. As for the roof, I'm going to draw a simple triangle on top of this flat rectangle, which I guess came out to look more like a square. But don't be fooled. A square is a rectangle. So I'm going to draw a line there. And I'm going to connect it on the other side. So I'm using my piece of paper again, connecting it on this side. There. Now, what to do next? What I do next is I draw a line, because I have another line up here. The top of this roof is receding into the vanishing point. So I have to line up the top of the roof corner here and the vanishing point there. Using my extra piece of paper again. Top to vanishing point. Not top to the corner of the other side of the house. Top to the vanishing point. And I might erase, I'm probably going to erase parts of this line, so just be patient. There. Now that's not finished. What I have to do next, and this is another math term I think you guys have probably learned in your class, is about parallel lines. I'm going to draw a parallel line to this one over here. So this line, I need a line that's parallel to it from this corner to the top of the roof. So if I made my roof like that, it'd look kind of funky. I need to look at this line here. I can use my paper, line it up, and a simple trick is just to drag it over to the other corner. Now double check yourself. I do it a couple times just to make sure I got it right. I drag that, I place it on this line first, make sure that I get my parallel line perfectly parallel to it by dragging it slowly, and then I sketch that in right there. Now I can erase the extra line. So here we've got rhombus, and then, no, I'm sorry, trapezoid, and then that one is a rhombus. Here we go. Now, that's it for a house that sits on above and below the horizon line. But let's see what it's like to draw something completely below the vanishing point and the horizon line. So now, oh, and if you want, you can decorate your roof. Why don't we just do that for a second? Give it some pizzazz. Maybe draw a window up here. Alright, so that shut off on me, but what we're doing, part 2 of this, is drawing a tall rectangle underneath the horizon line and to the left of the vanishing point. So not here, not here, not here, not here, but over here. So I've got 4 corners, 4 sides, nice and tall. And now, I really like doing these ones. These are fun. Now it's just kind of a random wall out here that we're going to make. So from corner to corner, each one of these corners, except for the last one, we're going to draw a vanishing line. So we're going to start with this top corner right here and line it up to there, to our vanishing point. There to there. Oh, draw very carefully right there. And then we're going to do another one from this corner. Now these almost overlap, so be very careful. Right on the corner. Right, should look like that. A very, very skinny triangle. And one last one from the bottom right corner of our rectangle to the vanishing point. Line up your paper, get it nice and straight, and voila. Now, I don't want this wall to go on for forever, so I'm going to draw a vertical line somewhere maybe right past the house. When I say past the house, I mean pretty close to the vanishing point, past where this line is, but it's okay if it's a little bit off. The only thing that you really have to do is make sure that this line is vertical. That means straight up and down. You can't tilt left or right, it has to be vertical, and you'll see how I erase afterwards. So I'm going to start like that, right there. So lines that have been set that we're going to keep. This whole rectangle, this line, and then the section of this line that connects between here and here, but not the top, here and there. Because next I have to draw a very tiny but very important horizontal line from this corner to the other line. If you look carefully, look closely, I'm lining this up horizontally from that point, going over to the other side of my wall. Alright, so now, and I might redraw this one just a little bit to make sure it's nice and dark. And I'll redraw this one to be nice and dark. Oops. Don't worry about mistakes. That's what your erasers are for. Go back and fix them. There, you can clean it up. And that's it for 1 point perspective.